ॐ शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी। विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। दोर्भिर्युक्ता चतुर्भिस्फटिकमणिमयीम् अक्षमालां ददाना हस्तेनैकेन पद्मं सितमपि च शुकं पुस्तकं चापरेण भासा कुन्देन्दुशङ्क स्फटिकमणिनिभा भासमाना समाना सा मे वाग्देवतेयं निवसतु वदने सर्वदा सुप्रसन्ना। कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलं। वाल्मीकिर्मुनिसिंहस्य कवितावनचारिणः शृण्वन् रामकथानादं को न याति परां गतिं। गोष्पदीकृतवाराशिं मशकीकृतराक्षसम् रामायणमहामाला रत्नं वन्दे नीलात्मजं। यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिं। बाष्पवारि परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकं। वैदेही सहितं सुरद्रुमतले हैमे महामण्टपे मध्ये पुष्पकमासने मणिमये वीरासने सुस्थितम्। अग्रे वाचयति प्रभञ्जनसुते तत्त्वं मुनिभ्यः परं व्याख्यान्तं भरतादिभिः परिवृतं रामं भजे श्यामलं। नमोऽस्तु रामाय सलक्ष्मणाय देव्यै च तस्यै जनकात्मजायै। नमोऽस्तु रुद्रेन्द्रयमानिलेभ्यः नमोऽस्तु चन्द्रार्कमरुद्गणेभ्यः। Okay, start. So last time we had concluded with the story of Vishwamitra. So if anyone has missed out last week's session, please go through that. We had seen the story of Vishwamitra, how Vishwamitra turned into a Maharshi, Rajarishi, and ultimately Brahmarishi. So how was his process? How he did not give up till the end. He had to go through a lot, but finally he did not give up. So now what happens, and then he sees further what happens. Let's have a look. Then we also, if you see, you also saw the story of Sunakshepa. Now let me clear one thing. Many people had this doubt with regards to Sunakshepa. To tell you in short, Sunakshepa was the boy who was to be given in sacrifice by a king, and then he takes the help of Vishwamitra, saying that my parents have also not regarded me much, they also don't need me, so now I need your help. Now this same Sunakshepa comes in some Puranic stories. It also comes in the story of Harishchandra. In Harishchandra Charitam also it comes. In the Srimad Bhagavatam to some extent it comes. So as per the Ramayana, the king who does the sacrifice is Ambarisha. In some references you have the king as Harishchandra. So like this there can be a bit of confusion that is there in the name of the kings. So depending on different references, we are referring to the Ramayana now, so you can consider Ambarisha. When you refer to that respective text, you can consider the other king who is there. But mainly the concept is that Sunakshepa, how he was given in sacrifice, and how Vishwamitra came to his help. Okay, so like this, depending on different texts, you can find few minor differences here and there. Okay, so towards the last concludatory part, finally he becomes Brahmarishi. This we had seen. He wanted Vasishtha to recognize him as Brahmarishi.
You show the previous slide, madam.
No, these are all last week's slides only. Same thing. I will be sharing all the slides. I want everything to be shared together.
Brahma asked Vishwamitra, what you have written? Brahma asked Vishwamitra.
He becomes a Brahmarishi. We had talked about this last time. Yeah, so in short, this has been mentioned. What were the tapas details that he did? Okay, now everyone don't worry, I will be sharing you all this text. Only thing why I am not sharing is everything if you see is not separate. We cover only few topics, right, every week. So then little it becomes difficult to share. So I will share it all together. Okay, now his process to become a Brahmarishi, how he does. So if you see, almost 4,000 to 5,000 years he has done tapas, and only then finally he becomes a Brahmarishi. Now everywhere when you look at the purpose column, you see that everywhere it's to become a Brahmarishi, to become a Brahmarishi and so on. And the result is ultimately first he becomes a Rajarshi, then he becomes a Maharshi, and finally he becomes a Brahmarishi at the end of 5,000 years tapas. But every time the purpose or his goal was to become a Brahmarshi only. So please make a note of this. So through this it is like a life learning, saying that we will have some goal, but in the course of achieving that goal, in middle maybe you can achieve some other things also. Like here in the case of Vishwamitra, maybe firstly he couldn't become a Brahmarshi. Though his goal was that he attained the status of a Rajarshi, then he became a Maharshi. He still did not give up. He achieved his goal. Whatever he had decided, he reached till there. But in the course of time, whenever we also now say, for example, all of us here, if you are learning the Ramayana, maybe till we reach the Uttarakanda, that is our final goal. In the course of that time, we might learn many other things also. Like sometimes I tell you something extra, and most of the times I keep telling you, right, something from here and there. It might not be related to the Ramayana, or someone else they share something. So in the course of time, what happens is that whenever we are doing something, learning something, by the time we reach the final goal, there can be other things that come to our way, and that should always be accepted. There are a few people who think that no, I want to do this, so I will put in efforts only for that, and any other things that I wish to know or something that comes in between, I will not appreciate that. So this is very very wrong. In fact, why this example of Vishwamitra we have to consider is, even while doing tapasya, that is even while he was on his way to become a Brahmarshi, he achieved many other things. So that also he accepted, and today when you look back, Vishwamitra has got the title of three: Rajarshi, Maharshi and Brahmarshi. So though he did not put in efforts to become a Rajarshi or Brahmarshi or Maharshi, he wanted to become only a Maharshi. Brahmarshi, sorry, I am also getting confused. He wanted to become a Brahmarshi, but in the course of time he got the status of even a Rajarshi and a Maharshi. So like that it might happen that unknowingly also, if you put in efforts, sometimes we do achieve. So accepting whatever comes in our way, but at the same time making a note of our final goal, that is very very important. So this is in short, you can consider the tapasya of Vishwamitra. Further, this is just life learning. There are failures and disappointments. In the case of Vishwamitra, we have already seen, right? 5,000 years he did tapasya, so many obstacles came in his way. In fact, the last entire session we saw that Menaka comes, Apsara comes, Trishanku comes in, then this Sunakshepa comes. Every time there was some or the other obstacle that was coming his way, but still Vishwamitra did not give up. He did not feel disappointed, he did not feel failed, he kept on putting in efforts, and ultimately he could achieve the status of Brahmarshi. Okay, next we continue. Next now, Sita Swayamvara. One second. This was with Sarga. 1 second.
66.
50, I think.
66, right? 1 second. I'll text properly. 65. 65. Now, so now if you see, this is almost the end of Balakanda that is coming here. Okay. 1 second. I took out the wrong PDF. Just hold on 1 second. One second. One minute, hold on. I'll just share my screen. One second.
We are able to see your the screen now.
Yes, but that is the wrong screen. One second. Different screen. I went to directly 70. Okay, now I think it is corrected. You can see Sarga 66. Yes, right? Okay. So till 65th Sarga we see the story of Vishwamitra and so on. Further now they reach the, now all this story if you remember, already Rama, Lakshmana, Vishwamitra have reached Mithila, and the story of Vishwamitra is being told by Shatananda. So that is Janaka's royal priest to Rama and Lakshmana to tell them the importance of their guru and why they are so blessed of getting a very good guru in life. Finally now all this conversation takes place, and now the main purpose for which both the boys and Vishwamitra have come, people start talking about that. Janaka, now he has invited everyone for the Swayamvara. Now let me tell you little about the concept of Swayamvara. Now in those times, today again we feel that today how usually marriages take place. I'm talking about proper arranged marriages. The girl's family comes, the boy's family comes, we meet each other, you see what the girl is doing, what the boy is doing, and so on, the normal process, right? But in those times, they used to look for a match which will be equal from both sides. So, of course, the concept of love marriage or something like that was still there then. It was not that it wasn't there. But then the girl was given a choice of choosing her partner. And how it used to be there is, they used to have this concept of Swayamvara. Now, today's times we don't have this concept of Swayamvara. Very simple meaning, directly, whomever you want, you look at your horoscope and everything, you meet, and that's how it comes. So, usually in those times, what used to happen is, before looking at the horoscope and everything, they used to first look at whether the person who is a match for the girl is eligible or no, and then used to come the step of looking at the horoscope and everything. So, this is something wherein you can see equality that used to exist. Now, in the case of Janaka, if you see why he had even kept this Swayamvara, the purpose was because in her childhood he had the Shivadhanusham with him. In her childhood, Sita could know about that Shivadhanusha which nobody could lift. She used to lift it, she used to play with it, and so on. So that day itself, Janaka decided that I should look for a person who will live with my daughter all through her life. My daughter, now Sita was at that time she was age of 6. So then so Janaka decided that the groom whom my daughter will marry, he should be equal to her, right? Otherwise, if someone is weak, or if he cannot, my daughter is lifting the bow, if he cannot do that, what is the use? I cannot give it to someone like that. So therefore Janaka had kept this concept. He said, first I should look for a person who is equal to my daughter, and then I will decide. So this is again, if you see, the society was so modern then. So all this concept that came in between, that marrying off at an early age or early marriage, child marriage, all this again human society has created. Never ever in our scriptures something like this was mentioned. So why I'm highlighting this especially is that many times we feel something, no, India is like this, our scriptures talk about that, our culture never talks about that. If culture says that women have to be married off early, just for the sake of age has gone away, or maybe sometimes you see even families are poor and so on, so just they used to give their daughters in marriage. That was never ever the case then. They used to always, before even looking at the horoscope, the person or the king used to see first whether you're equal to my daughter. So this is one thing which, whenever we look for our own children or for ourselves for marriage also, this is one thing which we have to see very much. Now it may not be, when I say equal, it may not be only in terms of physical strength or money, wealth, and not only in that way, but at least to some extent what I am doing, the opposite person also should be able to know something about that, right? Otherwise I am doing something completely different, that their way of life is completely different, and then that's how it gets problem. So that is the main problem that we have today of these intercaste marriages and so on. So again, nobody was against intercaste marriages, but the thing that happens is that when we marry or some interreligious intercaste problems come in. Now you see, let us not even put or use the word intercaste. Even when you marry amongst families also, every family has their own set of customs and traditions, right? Now whenever we go to someone's house also, say all of you come to my house, it will get some, at least 1 or 2 days it gets time to get adjusted, right, to a new place. Maybe the way we eat, maybe the time that we follow, or maybe the things that we do, maybe the way we sleep and so on might be so different than what you do in your house. So wherever we go, it takes a lot of time to adjust. So then when we marry someone completely, maybe like in the case of Rama, Sita or so, if Janaka had not kept this concept of Swayamvara, and maybe so many kings came in, right? Except Rama, nobody could lift the bow. If like that someone had married Sita, what would she do all her life? He's so weak, he cannot take care of himself. Sita was physically stronger than him. What is the use then? So like this, and even now you take even the example of Dasharatha and Kaikai, as we know the story, Kaikai went and assisted Dasharatha in the battlefield. So she was the one who knew to use weapons, and she was very much skilled in warfare. That is the reason she could go and help Dasharatha then. So you see, wherever the marriage used to take place, everything used to be equal. That is there. So, and even Dasharatha also later when he comes after knowing the marriage of Rama, Sita, and also the other brothers that set in, all the preparations that he makes also was equal. So it's not that only the girl's family did and so on. So like this, you see, equality was always mentioned. Now even you take the reference of the Mahabharata, Draupadi Swayamvara that is there. Draupadi Swayamvara, wherein Arjuna hit the eye of the Matsya, and by seeing, looking at the reflection, if you know the story as it goes, and then only he got Draupadi. But then again, why Draupadi? Kunti had told that whatever you have got, now they never imagined that he will win a girl and come, right? So then Draupadi, Kunti, without looking, she says that this girl has to be shared amongst all of you. Whatever, not this girl, whatever you have got, share it amongst all of you. They obeyed, and that's how Draupadi became the wife of her husbands. Here, if you poke a finger and say, what injustice is this? One woman marrying 5 husbands. It was because of her, but nobody knows the previous birth story wherein she prays to Lord Shiva that I need a husband who knows about dharma, who will be physically strong, who is excelled in Dhanurvedam, who is very skillful, who is very beautiful, who is very handsome, who can know horse rearing and so on. She asked for such a husband. Shiva says, all these qualities cannot be kept in one person. That is the reason why you see most of us, if I am skilled in something, I will be bad at something too. Same, all of us, you will be good at something, at the same time you will be bad at something. Everyone knows everything in life. Such things don't come in. But Draupadi in her previous birth, it seems that she had asked Lord Shiva that I want a husband who's like this. Shiva says, don't worry, in your next birth you will get 5 different husbands having each of these qualities. That's how we have Yudhishthira, who was dharma, Bhima, physical strength, and so on. That's how she married Pancha Pandavas. And even when they went about marriage and they went in the family way also, it seems that Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva, each of them they begetted children with Draupadi separately, the Pancha Pandavas. But unfortunately, all the 5 children were killed in the Mahabharata Yuddham. So you can imagine her sorrow then, all 5 together. And they used to have some time period also wherein each of the husbands used to spend time with Draupadi and so on. So like this, there were all rules that were being set up. So why I am giving you these examples, because we are talking about Swayamvara, is that we must never feel that something has taken place, there is no reason for that, there is no logic, or everything is orthodox, people were foolish in those times. So there are many other stories and reasons that are there why things have taken place. Today, of course, practically things are not possible. We cannot keep a Swayamvara and things like that. Marrying one woman or one man itself is becoming difficult. Then you imagine about organizing a Swayamvara and so on. So, of course, as times change, rules do change. But then why some things were there in those times, we have to very much think about that and also look about other references. Okay, so did everyone understand the concept of Swayamvara? Yes? How it was? Huh?
Yes, I have one small doubt.
Yes.
Madam. Is it called as Swayamvara? Actually, it was told earlier, the Valmiki Ramayanam, Swayamvara is not mentioned. It's only said, as you said, that he has to break the Sivadhanus or something. Is it not like it corresponds to what Draupadi has done? That is, all the people came at the same time. Here it is, I think, it is not that all the Ravana and all, they came earlier along with the Rama or something, correct?
Now see, the thing was, no. See, Swayamvara, this word as such is not directly used in the Valmiki Ramayana. This is what some people say, as you rightly said. But then the purpose was, Janaka had announced, whoever breaks the Shivadhanusha, to that person I will give my daughter in marriage. But mostly it, like in the course of time, maybe in one day it would have not happened. In the course of a few days, continuously kings, when Janaka made this announcement, he tells it to all the nearby kings in the nearby countries and so on. And that's when Ravana and all other kings also do come there. So it would have not taken place in one day or so. In the course of a few days, many kings used to come continuously, and one fine day Rama and Lakshmana also come. So basically, the Shivadhanusha used to be kept there and everyone used to have their try. So in the course of time, so many days passed, months passed, nobody was breaking that Shivadhanusha. And every day Sita also used to sit, Janaka used to sit. So as you say, direct, it would have not taken place in one day only. Everything, all the kings come in. That would not be possible. In the course of time, every day the kings used to come. They used to have their tribe, but nothing happened. Finally, Rama did that. So Swayamvaraha. If you look at the word only, choosing one's own partner. So that's what Sita had to do lastly once who broke the Shivadhanusha. Okay, so maybe as you said, directly the word cannot be used because it was mainly Janaka's main objective was, it was not that Sita used to get married to someone. He wanted someone who is equal to Sita. That is because she had lifted the Shivadhanusha, so he wanted someone who was equal to her. So that was his main purpose. Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
One minute, Lakshmiji. See, my doubt is, see, this Swadamvara of Nala Damayanti, again, king caused all the kings to his court. But one person, all are gods. So she was able to identify who is Nala. So, where that's only a gods. There is no equality in that. You say equal.
Nala Damayanti, what you said, repeat again.
See, you said, see, this Swadamvara is for choosing equal partners. So in Nala Damayanti Swayamvara, again,
One minute.
able to identify Nala because his feet was touching the floor, no other feet. All are gods.
Correct. No, what I meant was when you say equal, in the case of Sita Swayamvara, it was equal. Or even in the case of Draupadi, now Swayamvaraha, Swayam is by oneself, Varaha, meaning the girl can choose her own, the groom of her choice.
Correct understanding.
Correct. So when I say equality, in the case of Janaka, it was like that. In the case of Sita, he wanted someone who was equal. Now why I said equality is, many times what we see in the later society, the middle society, if you see middle age India, what we saw is that many times women used to be married early, child marriage and so on. So what I meant to say was, in the earlier times it was not like that. Like our scriptures, you consider even Nala Damayanti is Taritam. Now in the case of Damayanti, she had the right to choose her own partner, and she chose Nala. Now there she did not see any physical strength, or they had not put any conditions. Her story was completely different. In the case of Draupadi, what happened is that they had kept a Swayamvara, one who was one who can hit the eye of the fish, that person will be married. So some of the other conditions were being kept to show that equality, in the sense to test even the groom. Now in middle age, what happened is that the groom was never being looked upon. Someone, maybe they could not take care of their daughter, or so she used to be married off, or maybe at a younger age they used to be married off. So that's how we had this child marriage and everything. So that was not there here when we talk about Sita Swayamvara, because in those times the bride used to have a used to have a right to choose the groom. So that's what I meant when I say equality. It used to mean that both the parties used to have an equal share, saying that maybe some conditions used to be put, or maybe the bride used to get a chance to speak. Now in today's times, again you see, right, the bride and the groom, they speak to each other, whatever it is, they share equally. Now in fact, today's marriage times also, if you see, be it the cost or anything that happens, usually it takes place half. But when we had this sati practice or child marriage, early marriage, what used to happen is only one part of the society used to be affected and the other partner used to not. That's how when you have a lot of torture, this, that and everything that used to take place. So the point what I meant was, in earlier times, when we always see that no, in earlier times it was like that. Earlier in the sense, it was only in the middle age that used to take place. Britishers and middle history, that was when such things used to take place. Ramayana Kala, Mahabharata Kala, it was not at all like that. We have the proofs in front of us. And again, today's times, we have more changes that come. Okay? Yeah. Dhanyavadaha. So, let's look at this. So, Balakandam, Sarga 66, Janaka talks about the Dhanusham. His condition he mentions. भूतलादुत्थिता सा तो व्यवर्धत ममात्मजा वीर्यशुल्केति मे कन्या स्थापिते यमयोनिजा. Virya she, Kanya, my daughter, Janaka says that she has come from Bhumi, earth, and not from a mother's womb, and I have considered her as my daughter, and I will give in marriage to only those prince whose strength can be seen by lifting this Shivabhanusham. Now many kings come, they are all angry, and what they speak of? ततः परमकोपेन राजानो नृपपुङ्गवः निरुन्दन् मिथिलां सर्वे वीर्यसन्देहमागताः. Now, when none of the kings, now it was not that all the kings who came there, they were not physically strong. They were physically strong, but then the Shiva Dhanusham, it was a bow of Lord Shiva himself. So that was very heavy. And when nobody could lift that, they all started doubting their own physical strength and they became very angry. Now, when we cannot achieve something, obviously we get angry, right? We get frustrated. So the same thing happened here also. Atmanamavadutam te vidyaya nrapapungavaha roshena mahatavishtah pidayan mithilam purim. And when you get angry, what you do is you take the anger on someone else and we start to blame things. A bad workman blames his tools. Same proverb can be applied here. They said no, this Mithila Desham is only evil, Janaka is only evil, his condition is foolish, Sita is also foolish, a small girl, what so much condition he has kept, and so on. So like this they started blaming the situation that was there. Now listening to all this, Janaka gets still frustrated. And then finally now Rama said, so this is an important sarga of the Balakandam, sarga 67. Now little you talk about the bow. Nradam shatani panchashadvyayatana mahatmanam manjusham ashtachakrantam samohusne katanchana. 5,000 people had come there. Nradam shatani pancha 5,000 people who had come. Panchashad Nradam shatani panchashad 50 into 100 5,000. So mighty people had come there and everyone, you see the bow also, it was placed ashtachakram, 8 wheels had been placed on which Ratha, a chariot on which the bow was kept and it was borne. Now when you have such references with the numbers that are mentioned, it becomes very very difficult to conclude that Ramayana can be a mythological story, it can be a myth, it can be fiction. I'm not saying that 100% it would have been true just because the numeral values are mentioned, but fiction or imagination to some level will not go to this extent. And again, you have so many proofs and research that takes place to prove that Ramayana is true. So what I'm telling is, whenever we listen to claims that what you are listening to the Ramayana Rama story, someone has written and gone, how it is true, where it is true, and so on, we have some proofs that are there. So when something has been mentioned so much in detail, we cannot jump to the conclusion saying that it is false. So whenever we look at texts, that too with references, when you look, our mind is always clear. Okay, so here also you see so much in detail, it is mentioned 5,000 people come to lift the bow that was brought in a 8-wheeled chariot. Naitat suragana sarvena surana charakshasah gandharva yaksha pravara sakinnara mahoragaha. It was not only kings, asuras, devatas, rakshasas, kinnaras, nagas, gandharvas, yakshas, everyone came. Host of gods, demigods, everyone was present, everyone tried their best. None could do that. क्वगतिर्मानुषाणां च धनुषोऽस्य प्रपूरणे आरोपणे समायोगे वेपने तोलनेऽपि वा. Then when all these people have tried, what will a man do then? Gods have tried, demigods have tried, great kings have tried. Can a man then lift it? This is the question here. Finally, Rama, who was a man, Vishnu in the Naravatara, that is, he was a man, he finally comes there and he lifts. So through this, what is shown is that the power of a common man can be seen here. Okay. So today's times people say, right, when people come together or when common people come together, a lot of power is seen and nobody can fight against them. Rama showed this then only in those times, that do not test the power of a common man. And again, one more part to this, you can interpret it even this way, is that just by looking at someone in the society or by looking at someone's status, oh, you're a king, you're a devata, you're an asura, you'll be very strong. Just by looking at that, we should not rather jump to conclusions. Looking at an outer appearance of someone, we should never ever jump to conclusions until and unless we know something fully about that person. Only then we should always conclude. Now here, if anyone looks at Rama, he was a normal man, a boy of around 11 or 12 years of age. When all the other devatas, asuras, kings, no one could lift the bow, Rama comes silently from between and he lifts it and he goes away. So many people keep names for him. He doesn't even turn back, but right. So then he maintained the same cool that he had. So through this, what is being seen is that just because we look at someone and feel that looking at such a great asura, such a great rakshasa, such a great king and so on, lastly a man comes, he lifts and he moves about. So again, never someone should be judged from outside. Yes, Sanjay ji.
Madam, in the Ramcharitamanas,
Hmm.
साल में तो तब जनक को बोला है
Hmm.
तो उन्हीं कोई तो बताया that means Valmiki had said Satan to Vishwamitra and he made him a request
Hmm.
for this Swayamvara.
What you're saying, I couldn't get it. What he told Janaka?
Satananda had said, Janak Raja had said Satananda to the Guru
Huh.
and requesting him to come for the Swayamvara of Sita.
Correct. Yes. Now that was because Shatananda had told. Now this version is there in the Ramcharitamanas that Shatananda had gone and told Vishwamitra that you come for the Swayamvara. So some say that Shatananda would have witnessed that Rama and Lakshmana, they are there nearby, so they can come and have their try. So mainly there was no guarantee that Rama will come and lift the bow. But then Vishwamitra, when he came to know about this, the Swayamvara at Mithila, he felt that these two boys, now he also could predict the future to some extent. So he felt that maybe Rama can have his try and he can win over Sita. That's how destiny moves about, right? Why we get some chances. But at the same time, one more thing you can consider here is that Rama was a master, he had mastered Dhanurveda, and he was the one who was an expert in handling bows and arrows. So Vishwamitra could have thought even in this way that just now I've given you so many weapons, you have completed your studies and so on. So why not get a good exposure of trying and being exposed to 4 people wherein you can show your valor. So this can also be another reason. More than Swayamvara and getting married off Rama, Vishwamitra would have also had this objective. So like this, there are different reasons why Rama actually went to the Swayamvara. So this we can call just as destiny, right? Now all of us also, why did we meet each other? You come across someone in life, maybe there is some good purpose, right? Now none of us here, hardly few people we meet each other. Or maybe we saw each other face to face. There are few people whom we met. Apart from that, none of us we met. We just randomly, you got a message or so. I got to know you, you got to know me. How come it happened? This is destiny, right? If some people want to meet, we meet someone always with a purpose. So this is the reason why again in the case of Rama also, Vishwamitra could have not got the news of the Swayamvara, and that's how he takes the boys. So that can also be one reason. Okay.
Something also, when I attended the University of Ramayana in Bhopal, I told him that one Ramayana, I have written a paper of that.
Hmm.
There was a situation that actually Guruji sent Rama to pick some Turkish flower.
Hmm.
Then Sita also comes over there.
Okay.
The arrangement made because he knew it that this is going to happen. That was so that they can see each other. And after that, Sataranga was along with Sita.
Hmm.
Then he has Rama. Then he has told to Janaka. Janaka then told him to go to Guruji.
Correct. So like this, there can be different variations because we have so many Ramayanas, right? So there can be different variations that are there. But we will go by the Valmiki Ramayanam because that is, you can say, that is the most prominent, and because it's an Arsha Kavyam, it is better if we follow that. Yeah? Okay. Further, Rama finally, he breaks a bow. Idam dhanurvaram brahman samsprashami hapanina yatnavamsta bhavishyami tolane purane piva. Now here, you see Rama, he asks to Vishwamitra. But before that, it's not that he gets up by himself. Lakshmana, he gets angry and so on. Now this is not directly mentioned sometimes in the Valmiki Ramayana. But then you have references wherein when Janaka becomes very sad at that nobody is lifting my bow. In the Ramcharitamanas, you have to check if you have a reference there. Or in other Ramayanams, it is sometimes mentioned that Janaka gets very angry and he calls names. He tells that nobody is capable of doing anything, not even a single king could lift the bow. He keeps names, and at that time Lakshmana gets very angry. He says that you have forgotten that Rama is still sitting here. And at that time, Vishwamitra slowly, he looks at Rama. And when he looks at Rama gets a sign that Vishwamitra wants me to go, and then he opens his mouth and finally asks permission. Idam dhanurvaram brahman, should I touch this bow and try to lift it? Only after Vishwamitra looks at him, gives him a sign that now you please go. Before that, Rama did not even get up. Aropayitva dharmatma purayama satadhanuh tadbhanja dhanurmadye narashreshto mahayashaha. And then Rama, he finally lifted the bow, he stringed it, and that's how it broke into 2 parts. Further, भगवन् दृष्टवीर्यो मे रामो दशरथात्मजः अद्यद्भुतमचिन्त्यं च न तर्कितमिदं मया. So later what happens is Janaka, he makes a claim that I've seen the power of Rama. So now he says I not even imagined, because he had seen the defeat of so many kings, so he never imagined a small young boy coming, Rama coming and breaking the bow, and he's very happy. Adbhutam, he said, atyadbhutam, ati adbhutam. It's not only adbhutam, very marvelous, atyadbhutam. Mama satya pratiknya cha virya shulketi kaushika sita pranairbahu deya ramaya me suta. Makes an announcement that Sita will be given off to Rama, and she's very much valuable to me, and she's a great fit to be given to Rama. Now finally he sends a message immediately to Dasharatha to inform him about what Rama, his son, had done, and that's how finally Dasharatha come in. Now in some references it is mentioned that it took about 7 days to reach from Ayodhya, that is to reach from Mithila Desham in Nepal to Uttar Pradesh, that is Ayodhya, Uttar Pradesh. So you see, almost it was a period of 14 days that used to be there. That is the messengers to be sent from Mithila to Ayodhya, and finally again Dasharatha's party going back. So it was a period of actually 2 weeks that took place, but here now so much in detail has not been mentioned by Valmiki. He just says that Dasharatha comes in. So it's not a day or 2, because in those times again transportation used to be through chariots, horse carts, and so on. So Dasharatha finally he arrives here. So message, Janaka sends a message to Dasharatha. What he says, Tacharajandanar divyam madhye bhagnam mahatmana ramena hi maharaja mahatyam jana samsadi. He writes a message to Dasharatha saying that your son Rama has broken this bow, so I'm very much blessed. So now you have to also come, and he tells the entire story. That is it. Asmai deya maya sita virya shulka mahatmane pradignyam kartumichhami tadagnyatnyatum. So now finally I have decided to give my daughter Sita in marriage to your son Rama, and I request you to come here to fulfill this, and so on. So basically it's like a permission that he took from Dasharatha. So all this message he writes. Further, Dasharatha arrives. Now in between what happens is that Dasharatha, he receives this message, he tells this to his queens and so on, and finally he tells Sumantra to make all kinds of arrangement, if you see. And then Janaka, he receives all the guests and he welcomes Dasharatha with the following words. Uvacha cha narashreshto narashreshtam mudanvitaha swagatam te maharaja dishtya prapto si raghava putrayorbayo pritam lapsyase virya nirchitam. He says that I welcome you, and I'm very fortunate that I could see both your sons and how they have shown their strength, and so on, how Vishwamitra brought them. दिष्ट्या प्राप्तो महातेज वसिष्ठो भगवान् ऋषिः सह सर्वैर्द्विजश्रेष्ठैर्देवैरिव शतक्रतुः. And I'm still happy because great sages like Vasishtha themselves have come. Vasishtha, Shatananda, Vishwamitra, everyone has come to my kingdom. I made the place very happy and holy. I'm very much blessed. दिष्ट्या मे निर्जिता विघ्ना दिष्ट्या मे पूजितं कुलं राघवैः सह सम्बन्धाद् वीर्यश्रेष्ठैर्महात्मभिः. And he says my family also has become very you can say very blessed because of the Raghus who have come in. Raghukula, Dasharatha, Vasishtha, the Kula Guru, now Rama, Lakshmana, and so on. So I'm very much happy. So like this, Janaka keeps praising. Further, Sarga 70, Vasishtha talks about the details of Rama, that is Raghukula, ancestors of Rama. About 38 generations of Rama, that is before Rama, have been mentioned. Now verses 15 to 45, now we don't have time to read all this in detail. You can refer to the original Ramayanam text, Sarga 70, verses 15 to 45. This talk about almost 38 to 40 generations of Rama. And Janaka also sends a message to his younger brother Kushadwaja. He also calls him to Mithila. And further, Vasishtha talks about Raghava Kula. Viditam te maharaja ikshvaku kula daivadam vakta sarveshu krityeshu vasishto bhagavan rishihi. Dasharatha, he tells this to Janaka and all the people in the court. He says Vasishtha is our Kula Guru of the Ikshvaku Vamsha, and in all ceremonies he is our spokesperson. He will speak about our Kula. He will introduce विश्वामित्राभ्यनुज्ञातः सह सर्वैर्महर्षिभिः एष वक्ष्यति धर्मात्मा वसिष्ठो मे यथाक्रमम्. So, with the permission of Vishwamitra and all others present here, I request Vasishtha to tell you in detail about my race, Ikshvaku Vamsha. Okay, here you have the names of all the sages. Brahma, creator, Marichi, Manasaputra. Then Kashyapa, Vivaswan, Manu. Manu's son Ikshvaku, Ikshvaku Vamsha. Kukshi, Vikukshi, Bana, Anaranya, Trishanku. Trishanku story we had seen. Nandumara, Yuvanashva, Mandata, Sushandi, Druvasandi, Bharata. Bharata, this Bharata is different. Asita, Sagara, Asamanjas, Anshuman, Dilipa, Bhagirata, Kakutsta, Raghu, Pravriddha. Kakutsta, from here for Rama you have another name, Kakutsta. Pravriddha, Shankhana, Sudarshana, Agnivarna, Shigagra, Maru, Prashnushtuka, Ambarisha, Nahusha, Yayati, Nabhaga, Aja and Dasharatha. So this is the Kula. In between you also have, so when we look at the Vamsha that is there, Raghu, Dilipa, Aja, now Nabhaga, then you also have Dilipa. So you see Raghu Vamsha, or few names we know. Raghu Vamsha, Raghu Vamsha is named after King Raghu or Sagara, but there are many other kings who are there. Few names we know, Bhagirata, Dilipa, Raghu, Aja, Dasharatha, but you see in between also there are many generations. Maybe they were not that well known. That is the reason their names we don't know, but this is the names of the previous and the ancestors of Rama. And finally we have reached till Dasharatha. Now Janaka talks about his ancestral details, about 22 generations he talks about. So you see, when you look at all, now my request to everyone is, you should not stop here. Every Sunday, okay, 22 generations, all this will be sent in the group, I will read this, okay, that is fine. Never stop at this. I want everyone to, of course, it's my request, if you have the Ramayana, mostly everyone should have the Ramayana, right? Original Ramayana, please go and read all the names. It is not that just to prove something, or okay, she has told something in the screen, I'm seeing something, is it really true? You go and count, is there 38? It's not for the sake of that, but for our knowledge, whenever we look at something, we should have the habit of always referring to the original text that is there. So always make it an habit. It's a very good habit that is there. You always refer to the original text, and at the same time someone just tells us something, tomorrow someone asks us also, we are fully convinced, saying that, oh, it is really is. So there is so much of knowledge that has been mentioned, why should I not look and find out, right? Now, when something has been written so much in detail, still if we don't have the patience, or still if we don't have this attitude of opening the book and seeing, then it's of no use at all. So therefore, though I'm telling you something, all of you believe, all that is fine, but we must have this habit of always going and checking the original text. I'll give you my own example how I do things. Of course, just a suggestion, you can do it. Whenever I listen to someone speaking also, wherever I feel that okay, so much of information is being told, it can be from the Srimad Bhagavatam or Ramayanam. If not the book also, you can even Google also, you have so much of PDF, right? At that point, I pause the video, I immediately check the original reference and saying that, oh, something has been there. So it becomes a habit. You always have this, you can say, cross-checking that is there, and through this, what another advantage is that we develop, we get a good chance to go through the original text also. Otherwise, when will we open and see, right? Now, Sarga 71 of Balakanda, it talks about something, and Janaka's ancestors, Dasharatha's ancestors, somewhere something has been mentioned. We must never talk about loosely, and this attitude many of us have, and that's the reason why today India is down. I'll tell you, because many times Indians are asked so many questions, we don't know anything. And that's when foreigners come and they take some of your credits. Best example I'll give you of Max Muller, right? Max Muller, what he did with Sanskrit and so on. So like this, there are many examples, and then we blame them. Foreign people are doing this, foreigners can. You see, so many books on the Ramayana are written by foreigners more than Indian authors, or nobody reads Indian books. It is very easy to blame others. I would say that they have done the right path. They came, they did their study, they have written something and gone about, right? Problem with Indians is we have everything, but we are very lazy. We don't open the books and do anything. Then what to do? Now that's the reason I'm telling you. Now 30 of us also, at least if 10 people open the book. Some people, most of you might be sitting with the original Ramayana beside you. That should be the right way, right? So this is very important. This habit all of us we should develop and also tell 4 others. Someone tells us something, that is fine. Why can't you open your original book and see? But why do you need always translations, or someone else should come and speak? Then we poke fingers, no, foreign invaders come in, Britishers came in. I would say rather, Britishers also they came with an, because why did they come only to India and loot us and go? Not only Britishers, so many all others. Now let's not get into that debate. It's because we are open, right? We were just waiting for someone to come. We don't know anything. Someone asks us something, I will find out and tell you. Today we have so many speakers. Most of them are all these foreign speakers also. You go on these news channels and so on who talk about all these things. Some people, news channels, our speakers, Indians are there, they will be debating and fighting with each other, only with political parties that are there. But when you see such debates that take place, it will be usually within some learned scholars are there in India. I'm not saying that it's not there. But then we Indians ourselves, we don't have this habit of appreciating or opening our own books and seeing. We will prefer always easy ways. And then when someone else comes and takes it away, takes the credit for themselves, at that time our eyes open and say, how come they did that? And we go and fight for that. Instead of fighting there, you forget about what they have done. You do something for yourself and you take the credit. This should be the attitude. So always, we are doing something, we must also develop this habit for even your children, grandchildren are there. Always you tell them, we buy them children books and give, that is fine. At a younger age you read those Ramayana for children and so on. At the same time, the child should always be told, you open your original book and also read it. Only then the child gets this reference. Okay, now when I say Sarga 71, you have the numbers. Okay, 1 to 13 it has been mentioned. Immediately you should go and check. Okay, 1 to 13 it has been mentioned. Small child also should be told this. Small child in the sense, not a very small child, maybe at the age of 10, 12 or so. When you tell them to read the Ramayana, at least you put in the ears of the child, oh, there is an original Ramayana called Valmiki Ramayanam. You must open that. We have the book in our house. You go and bring it and read from that. So this develops a very good habit wherein the child also will be fully convinced. Child, or it can be any reader, wherein you are fully convinced. There is no place for any doubt that comes, is this true, who has written. Otherwise, when you read some abridged versions, or like I told you, Ramayana for children and so on, though it would have been written by keeping the Valmiki Ramayana as a reference, but still we believe that what the author has written is true, right? Or sometimes we don't believe, how come such things have come, who has mentioned and so on. But when you always go through the original text, there is no place for doubt at all. So always, my suggestion is always develop this habit of referring to the original text. Now Ramayanam, Srimad Bhagavatam, it becomes very easy because these books are available. Even for other texts also, we must always have this habit, right? And today's times, you don't even need to purchase a book that is there. Technology, most of the things are available even in Google. But the thing is, we are lazy, we don't have. Who will see? Let it be there. I have seen so many people who have this. So why should I open and see? You should open and see, only then you will know. So again, the original texts always you can open and see. That's the reason it is mentioned with numbers. Okay, so further now, after Dasharatha, Janaka, he talks about his ancestral details. Janaka's lineage, Nimi, it starts with Nimi Mithi. That's how the Rajyam was called, Mithila. Janakavan, now there were many Janakas. Janakavan, Udavasu, Nandivardhana, Suketu, Devarata, Brihadrata, Mahavira, Sudriti, Drashtaketu, Haryashwa, Maru, Pratindaka, Kirtiratha, Devamida, Vibhuda, Mahidraka, Kirtirata, Maharoma, Swaranaroma, Hraswaroma, Janaka and Kushadvaja. Now you will have a doubt. Where are the stories of all these kings? All this king's story comes in history. It's not a part of Ramayana, but if you delve deep into history, you will have the stories of all these kings. And all these references are also mentioned in other Puranas, also other stories, other reference books also. So this is a lineage of Janaka. Again, proves that is the Ramayana false or is it true? So much in detail has been mentioned. So again, if we delve into history, we know that people have been existing like this. So Janaka and Kushadvaja, till here it starts from Nimi and it ends Janaka and Kushadvaja. It doesn't end there, still it moves about further.
So number 3 is Janaka 1, you have put, what is it?
Earlier there was a person called, another king called Janaka. So that's why it is mentioned Janaka 1. And this is the second Janaka. Okay. So the name has been repeated. Now Janaka promises to give his daughter in marriage. Virya Shulkam Mamasutam Sitam Surasutopamam Dvitiyam Urmilam Chaiva Tridadamina Samshayaha. Now, before this, you have another story. I'll tell you the story of how Urmila was given in marriage. Now, see, now some stories are mentioned in the original Valmiki Ramayana. Some are mentioned in the Ramcharitamanas, some are there in other references. Like yesterday only some class I was telling you about Alvar Ramayana. Like this, there are many Ramayanas. So I'll tell you in some other Ramayanas also how the story of Urmila, how it was decided to give in marriage. I'll tell you. So when Vishwamitra told Rama, and when the final marriage of Rama had been set about, Rama was very happy. Rama, Sita, everyone, Vishwamitra, everyone was happy. So at that time, Lakshmana was overjoyed that his brother is getting married and so on. So at that time, what once happens is that Rama, Vishwamitra and Lakshmana, they were staying. A separate arrangement had been made for them. So when once Lakshmana was not around, Rama goes and tells Vishwamitra that till date, all we four brothers, we have done everything together. We were almost born at the same time. There's only 1 or 2 days difference. We went to the Gurukula together. We learned everything together. Only marriage now, I am getting married, my brothers are not getting married. Now this was a very valid question because even the age of all the 4 brothers was the same. It's only 1 day difference. And further he says that this Lakshmana, you see, he has even accompanied me to the forest, right? So along with you, and he has not left me from day one. For the last 12 years of my life, he has never ever left me. Only 2 days he left me. When was those 2 days? When I was born, and he was born day after tomorrow. That is the only difference. So only 2 days when Lakshmana was not even existing. At that time I have lived alone. Apart from that, till date Lakshmana was always with me. This is a statement that Rama makes. And so he tells that Rama tells Vishwamitra, only I am getting married, so I don't want that to happen. And at that time Vishwamitra, he tells that I will speak to Janaka. He does not give the reference of Kushadwaja. About Bharata and Shatrughna, the topic has not come. Mainly Rama stresses upon Lakshmana. So Vishwamitra tells, I will speak to Janaka, don't worry. He has got another daughter, Urmila, whom we will ask whether he will give in marriage so that both you brothers can get married. Now now Rama is very happy. Lakshmana hears this conversation from behind, and here he is very he hears this and he is shocked because Lakshmana had decided not to get married at all. So you have those few stories later before their marriage. Lakshmana, they go to pluck flowers also, and even Sita and all the other queens, Urmila, her sisters, everyone, they roam about in the garden. At that time, in one instance, what happens is that Lakshmana stops in between. Rama moves little ahead. Lakshmana stops in between. And at that time, even Urmila had also come in the garden. Now, this mention is not there directly in the Valmiki Ramayana. You have these as side stories. So, Urmila also comes there and she is waiting. So, all the queens, Sita and all the other queens, they leave her because they see Lakshmana is waiting there. So, just for fun also, they say, okay, we will leave them. Let's see what happens. So, Urmila was also standing. Lakshmana was also there. Lakshmana directly goes and tells Urmila, all this takes place before their marriage, when they meet in the Vatika, in the garden. And Lakshmana goes and tells Urmila that you would have heard that talks about our marriage are taken place. So Urmila is very happy. Urmila says, yes, I also heard and I am very happy and so on. So then Lakshmana there, he says that I have decided not to get married. I have taken this promise quite before, right from childhood. And therefore you go and tell Janaka and your mother Sunaina that this marriage cannot take place. Urmila is shocked listening to this. She doesn't react first. Lakshmana again tells that no, I would just want to serve Rama, and now she is getting married, so Sita also, I don't want to get married and so on. He repeats the same thing again. So you go and tell your parents. So Urmila here, she tells that I cannot go and tell my parents. You go and tell Vishwamitra, Rama, that you don't want to get married. So Lakshmana says that no, I cannot go and tell my elder brother and Guru. So Urmila she also doesn't give up. She tells that if you cannot tell, even I cannot do that. So finally Lakshmana, he tells that the reason why I am telling you this is why I don't want to get married is I will, just as it happens in future, I cannot spend a lot of time with you. I cannot follow Pati Dharmam that is there, and that is the reason I don't want to get married, because I will live the last 12 years of my life I have lived with Rama, and future also the same thing is going to happen. So at that time Urmila, she tells that this is your problem, right? I will never complain whenever you go about and so on. That's the reason later, even when Lakshmana goes for Vanavasa, or later in the Uttarakandam when Sita goes to the forest, at that time also Urmila says that you return only along with Sita, but of course Lakshmana, he comes back early. So like this, this was a conversation that takes place between Lakshmana and Urmila quite before, and Urmila has promised she never complains also. So that's how this story, and finally now Lakshmana and Urmila, Lakshmana is also convinced, and that's how the marriage takes place. So these are all side stories. And then next day Janaka, he tells Dasharatha that now Dasharatha is happy along with one son. Another son is also getting married. Viryashulkam mama sutam sitam surasutopamam dvitiyam urmilam chaiva tridadamina samshayaha. So it tells of Sita to Rama and Urmila to Lakshmana. So let the marriage take place soon. ददामि परमप्रीतः वद्वौ ते रघुनन्दन रामलक्ष्मणयो राजन् गोदानं कारयस्वः पितृकार्यं च भद्रं ते ततो वैवाहिकं कुरु. Before marriage you have a tradition of donating cows, godanam. So that was all done by Dasharatha, and next the marriage starts. At this time Janaka's brother Kushadwaja comes. He also has two daughters, Mandvi, Shrutakirti. It is decided to give them in marriage to Bharata and Shatrughna. मया ह्यद्य महाबाहो तृतीये दिवसे प्रभो फल्गुन्यामुत्तरे राजन्स्तस्मिन् वैवाहिकं कुरु रामलक्ष्मणयो राजन् दानं कार्यं सुखोदयम्. So Makha is a star today, and the third day from today, when the nakshatra Uttara Phalguni comes, at that time the marriage will take place, and gifts, all the preparations start, gifts are being distributed, the entire kingdom of Mithila is decorated, and so on. So this is, with this ends Sarga 71. Last is Sarga 72 of the Balakanda. Let's have
Kushadwaja's daughters marries Shatrughna and
Bharata, Mandvi, Bharata, Shrutakirti, Shatrughna. Yes. Next, now Vishwamitra, he proposes, he tells that Kushadwaja's daughters, they should be married to Bharata and Shatrughna. Janaka also agrees, and on the same day all the four marriages were to take place. Before that, Dasharatha, it has the Nandi Shraddha.
Shatrughna's wife name
Shrutakirti. Yes. Dasharatha, Nandi Shraddham has to be performed before marriage. Dasharatha does
Shrutaki for Shatrughna and Bharata is
Mandvi. Ramayanam, Rama, Sita, Lakshmana, Urmila, Bharata, Mandvi, Shatrughna, Shrutakirti. Okay. All these names you should know, the basics of Ramayana. Make a note of it. Yeah. Then further, Dasharatha performs a Nandi Shraddham. The Shraddham that is performed before the marriage, that is Nandi Shraddham, and then marriage function begins with Godanam. Vaktavyam च नरश्रेष्ठ श्रूयतां वचनं मम भ्राता यमीयान् धर्मज्ञ एष राजा कुशध्वजः. So Vishwamitra tells here, Asya dharmatmano rajan rupena pratimam bhuvi sutadvayam narashreshta patnyartham varayamahi. So the two daughters of Kushadwaja, they can be also given in marriage to Bharata and Shatrughna. एकान्हा राजपुत्रेणां चतस्रूणां महामुने पाणीन् गृह्णन्तु चत्वारो राजपुत्रा महाबलाः. So let all the four princes, they take the hands, that is, let the Kanyadanam be done, the marriage take place on the same day, let all the four princes get married. Next, Godanam. Gavam Shadasahasrani Brahmanebhyo Naradipah Ekaikasho Dadau Raja Putranuddishya Dharmatah. Godanam, Dasharatha does that. Suvarna Shanga Sampanna Satvatsa Kamsya Dohanaha Gavam Shadasahasrani Chatvari Purusharshabah. 400,000 cows. They could all produce a lot of milk. Their horns were plated with gold, and all of them had cows, vatsas or calves also around. Savatsaha, vatsaha along with them. Finally, Sarga 73, Sita Swayambara, the marriage that takes place. Yuthajit, he comes, Yuthajit, brother of Kaikeyi, he comes from Kekai Desha to meet Dasharatha. Janaka and Dasharatha start with all the rituals, and thus the marriage starts in. ततो राजा विदेहानां वसिष्ठमिदमब्रवीत् कारयस्व ऋषे सर्वान् ऋषिभिः सह धार्मिक रामस्य लोकरामस्य क्रियां वैवाहिकीं विभो. Now further, Janaka, he tells Vasishta that you please start with the marriage rituals, the sacrifice, everything, homa, all that have to start in, so that everyone will be happy. Yam Sita mama suta sahadharmachari tava praticha chainam bhadram te panim grinhishva panina. This words that is there, sometimes even in marriage ceremonies that take place of human beings, also the father of the daughter chants this. In some references, if the priest tells, he chants, otherwise it is not done. But then Yam Sita mama suta, instead of Sita, sometimes the name of the child is also, name of the girl is also told. Some references, some places they follow, some places they don't do that, but this words very very important words. Panim, taking panim, panihi is another word for hand, so please take the hand. That is, it literally means please marry my daughter, I give my daughter kanyadanam words. पतिव्रता महाभागा चायेवानुगता सदा इत्युक्त्वा पाक्षिपद्राजा मन्त्रभूतं जलं तदा. Further he tells that my Sita will be very devoted, she will always follow you like a shadow, just as it happens in future also. She followed Rama to the forest, and thus all the mantras, everything was chanted. Next, Lakshmana gaccha badram te urmila mudyata maya praticha panim grinhishva mahabhutkalasya paryayaha. Next he calls Lakshmana, he says, come accept my daughter Urmila. And further now here you say Mahabhutkalasya Paryayaha. He says do it fast, because he knows that Lakshmana is short tempered. Before his mind changes, he says come first do the Pani Grahanam, then we'll talk about everything else. So that is the reason Lakshmana and Urmila's marriage and their sacrifice we must never ever forget. So before marriage only, now you just imagine the plight of a woman. If a husband, now there are many women here, right? If your husband, or it can be even for men, if your wife comes and tells that you should not question me in the sense I might not be able to spend time with you, so it's better that we cancel off marriage. On the day of marriage, if someone comes and tells, you just imagine her plight. For us, maybe a very easy solution, you can leave the person and go about. Okay, I will say I don't want to live with such a person, we will tell. But the case of Urmila, she thought from the, you can say, she thought by placing herself in the place of Lakshmana, and then she gave a very wild thought, because she knew that Lakshmana was born to serve Rama, and all through his life he had done that, and therefore she was very much patient and she agreed to whatever Lakshmana said. So before, this is again a life lesson. When someone tells us something, of course in today's time such things don't take place, but then still whenever someone tells us something, we must always place ourselves in the place of that person. We must always keep ourselves there and think why someone is saying like that, is there some problem or so. But before that itself we react, fight and so on. So even the sacrifices and the conversation that takes place between Lakshmana and Urmila, that also has to be appreciated. So next takes place the marriage of Urmila, and further tameva muktva janako bharatam chabhyabhashata grihana panim mandavya panina raghunandana. Janaka further tells Bharata, please hold Mandvi's hand. Kushadvaja actually does the Kanyadanam because of his daughters, but Janaka is very much present there. Further, Shatrugnam chapi dharmatma abravi janakeshwaraha shrutakirtya mahabaho panim grinhishva panina. Further he tells Shatrugna, accept the hand of Shrutakirti. Thus the four brothers are married. Now everyone goes back a year. At this time,
Shatruguna, one slide before, show me. Shatruguna,
Shrutakirti.
Thank you.
Okay. Now in the Valmiki Ramayana, you have the reference that Dasharatha, he meets Parashurama on his way. In some references, what you have is Rama, he comes in between, and then Rama encounters Shatrughna and so on. As per the Valmiki Ramayana, it is Dasharatha who meets Parashurama. Parashurama is very angry on Dasharatha, saying, how come you married, how come your son broke the Shivadhanusham and so on. And later then, so why directly he doesn't speak to Rama, as Rama is still a young boy, right? So he feels while playing something he would have broken. And therefore, while after the marriage everything takes place, while they were returning back, at that time Dasharatha has an encounter with Parashurama. Tasmim stamasi ghore to bhasmachanne nasachamuh dadarsh bhima sankasham jatamandala bhargavam jamadagnyam tam raja vimardanam. So while they were returning back, they met Parashurama on the way. कैलासमिव दुर्दर्शं कालाग्निमिव दुस्सहं ज्वलन्तमिव तेजोभिर्दुर्निरीक्षं पृथग्जनैः स्कन्दे चासज्य परशुं धनुर्विद्युद्गणोपमं प्रगृह्य शरमुखं च त्रिपुरग्नं यथा शिवम्. It was like the Kailasa mountain. Whenever Parshurama walks, it seems that lot of dust used to fly. So that dreadful he was. Lot of energy, axe in his hand, parashu, and then a Vishnu Dhanusham. And he was walking as if lightning and thunder is coming. Next, Parshurama challenges Rama. He says, "You are the one who broke the Shiva Dhanusham. Do one thing. Now you break this Vishnu Dhanusham." He doesn't know that Rama is an avatar of Vishnu only. Now, some references, the story goes that before, like immediately, as soon as Rama breaks the bow, in the kingdom of Janaka only Parshurama comes there. But then, as per the Valmiki Ramayanam, after the marriage takes place and when they were returning back to Ayodhya, at that time, Parshurama comes, he meets Dasharatha, Rama, and so on. So it's just a variation. Point is, he meets Rama and he tells him that you break my bow also. Parshurama challenges Rama. Tadidam Vaishnavam Rama Pitrupaitamaham Mahat Kshatradharmam Puraskritya Grinhishwadanuruttamam. He says, hold this bow of Vishnu and that I've got from my father and ancestors. You break this and show me. Yo Jayasva Dhanushreshthe Sharam Parapuranjayam Yadi Shakno Shika Kutsta Dvandvam Dasyami Te Tataha. He does this first, you lift this, then you shoot an arrow and so on. If you can do this, let's see how powerful you are. So he challenges Rama. Rama first he bends the Vishnu Dhanusham like he did for the Shiva Dhanusha. Then he asks Parashurama, what next should I do? And at that time Parashurama he accepts. He agrees that Rama is really great and then he tells him to shoot to a particular place and further proceeds to the Mahendragiri. Imam padagatim Rama tapo bala samarjitan lokana pratiman vate hanishyami yadichasi. After breaking the bow, he tells Rama that, he tells Parashurama, Rama tells Parashurama, now you tell me next what I should do. So he tells that two things I can destroy. One is all the higher worlds that you have got. Now Parashurama, he had destroyed, now he had destroyed the Kshatriyas 7 times, right? So 7 like that 3 times, so in all 21 times. So he had won over many lands that were there. That's how you have the story of Kurukshetram and everything. So let's not go into that now, the topic will be diverted, we don't have time. So the Kurukshetram, that was also won over by Parashurama, just you can note it down. So like this, there were many places, all higher worlds, Indraloka, Brahmaloka, he had got a lot of blessings because he had won over a lot of enemies. So Rama asks, should I destroy that or all your energy that you have got through tapasya and so on, what should I destroy? Because now I have shot an arrow, so something has to be destroyed, it cannot go waste. So lokastva pratimārāma nirjitās tapasā maya jahitān sharamukhyena ma bhūtkalasya paryayaha. Parashurama says, you destroy all the worlds that are there, you don't do any delay on this. Parashurama further praises Rama. Akshayam madhuhantaram janami tvam sureshwaram dhanushosya paramarshat swastite stu parantapa. He realizes that I know that you are Lord Vishnu only, because the Vishnu Dhanusham can be lifted only by Vishnu. Parashurama, Rama, both are avatars of Vishnu, and therefore he realizes this. Ete suragana sarve nirikshante samagataha tvama pratima karmanam apratidvandvamahave. Says all gods have come to see your might. You cannot be destroyed by anyone. So like this he keeps on praising Rama. Further, concluding Sarga of Balakandam, Sarga 77. Finally, Dasharatha and all others enter Ayodhya and Bharata Shatrughna immediately they leave for Kekaya Desham. Ayam Kekaya. Now, if you remember, I had told you Yudhajit, the uncle of Bharata, had come to witness the wedding of the 4 princes. So at that time he also returns back to Ayodhya and then he requests, Ayam Kekaya Rajasya Putro Vasati Putraka Tvam Netumagato Veera Yudhajinma Tulastava. He says, I want to take you along with, I want to take Bharata along with me. Prarthitastena dharmagnya mithilayamaham tata rishimadye tu tasya tvam pritim kartumiharhasi. So he tells Bharata also that you please come. I wanted this to happen right when we were in Mithila also. And then now we are in Ayodhya, so let us go. I want you to come to my Rajya. Further now, Rama and Sita, they live a very happy life in Ayodhya almost for 10 years. Piturajñam puraskritya paurakaryani sarvashah chakara ramo dharmadma priyani chahitani cha. Rama did all his duties of a prince. He took care of his citizens. He, whatever were the commands of his father, he listened to that. He lived a very good life with Sita and so on. Ramastu Sitaya sardam vijahara baho nriton manasvi tadgatastasya nityam mridi samarpitaha. So all the seasons that were there, Shad Rituhu, he spent all that with Sita for almost 10 years. And a very good life, they said. इत्यार्षे श्रीमद्रामायणे वाल्मीकीये आदिकाव्ये चतुर्विंशतिसहस्रिकायां संहितायां बालकाण्डं सम्पूर्णम्. With this, finally we finish the Balakanda. Next, we will be starting with the Ayodhya Kanda. Ayodhya Kanda. So Balakandam, if you see, talks about the birth. First is the Samkshepa Ramayana. Just to tell you in gist, Samkshepa Ramayana in short, in 100 shlokas. First Sarga talks about the story of Rama till end, how Rama becomes a king. Further, starts from the birth of Rama, how Rama goes to the Gurukula. Further, how Vishwamitra takes stories of Vishwamitra, story of Ganga, story of Kartikeya's birth. Many side stories come in. Finally, Janaka's story, ancestors of Dasharatha and Janaka, ancestors of Rama and Janaka. Then the marriage of the four princes with Sita, Urmila, Mandavi, Shrutakirti. Finally, Parashurama's encounter, how Bharata Shatrughna leave for Keikaya Desham, Rama and Sita spend their time in Ayodhya. So with this, Balakandam gets over. Further, you have Ayodhya Kandam. In Ayodhya Kandam, still how Rama and Sita live together for some time, and finally later what happens, how Kaikeyi's mind changes, how they proceed to the forest and so on. That is mentioned in the Ayodhya Kandam. Aranya Kandam is only what happens in the forest. So next we start with Ayodhya Kandam. Yes?
Lakshmiji, so Lakshmana and Shatrugna were in Kekiya Desha for 10 years then?
Sorry? Lakshmana is there. Lakshmana doesn't go. Along with Bharata, Shatrughna, along with their respective wives, they go. So Shatrughna also follows. Just as Lakshmana always follows Rama, Shatrughna always follows Bharata. So Bharata, Shatrughna, along with their wives, they go to Keikaya Desham. Rama, Lakshmana and their wives are there in Ayodhya only. That's the reason when the Vanavasa takes place later, Lakshmana also follows Rama to the forest. So he was there. Bharata and Shatrughna were not there. So almost for about 10 years or so, if you calculate the time period that is there, they live in Keikaya Desham only. Bharata and Shatrughna. Immediately after marriage they live, and for many years they live with their uncle and maternal grandfather. Finally only after they receive the news of their father's death and the Vanavasa of Rama and Lakshmana and Sita, at that time they return back from there. Till then he lives there only. Okay, so the next 10 years Rama and Sita live happily in Ayodhya. Okay, now with this, time is up. We will stop here for today. Next we will continue with Ayodhya Kandam from the next session. Hari Om, Dhanyavadaha, Namaste.